So I wanted to do my video on Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. Now that Joshua has unified in the heavyweight division, Joseph Parker has just defended his title the other day. I did see the fight. Not so impressed with him. I haven't really been that impressed with Joshua since he stepped up. Sorry, Joseph Parker since he stepped up. But I'll save that for another video. Um, Let's talk Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. Okay, I've heard a lot of opinions about these two. Um, I've always had, a love-hate thing for Deontay Wilder because, I feel at moments he does seem to want to prove himself. I like the guy. I think he gives good interviews. He says the right things. He's not the type of guy to dislike as far as outside of the ring. The guy seems pretty cool. He seems like a good guy, and he seems like he means well. I I like him. I do. Um, I made some videos criticizing him in the past. Okay, because I felt that Wilder took too long to step up. You know, Before I had my boxing channel, I remember the first time I see Deontay Wilder fight. I was looking up some videos on this kid, Seth Mitchell. Okay, a guy that Golden Boy was trying to push, about 5, 6 years ago. Heavyweight, another just ex football player, athlete guy that Oscar, they was just trying to push him to be the next big heavyweight or something. Big guy, played football, but he wasn't really skilled. He wasn't boxing for that long. Just like a lot of these fighters today in the heavyweight division, all of these guys are ex-athletes that just wanted to try out boxing, okay? And this is why a lot of them get criticized and a lot of them don't get the respect from, the legendary heavyweights. Excuse me. And I'll speak more on that later in this video. But, this guy Seth Mitchell, I was watching this fight back when, he was knocking out guys like Chaz Witherspoon and stuff like that. And I remember seeing a video. You know how you look on YouTube and you watch a video of one fighter and you look at like the other videos under, that's related. And I saw this video where it was like Deontay Wilder, like 23-0 or whatever he was at that time, 23 knockouts. I clicked on it and I saw these videos where it was like a compilation of like a highlight video where it was just showing some of his knockouts. And, I was like, yo, who the hell is this guy? This guy looks crazy. He's tall. He's like knocking everybody out. And I remember at that time, I immediately looked him up, did some research, saw his record. And I was like, oh, this guy is like 23-0, but no one knows who he is. And, this guy didn't fight anyone good. Like, all the guys he fought were, like, straight, like, ass, whatever. So I didn't pay him no mind. And I wasn't really tracking his record like that, at that time. I just wasn't, because nobody was talking about Deontay Wilder at that time. Nobody knew who he was. And he, at that point, already had more fights than Joshua does at this point. Okay? So, that might not be his fault. I don't know who his handlers were. I don't think he was with Al Heyman that far back. No, he definitely wasn't. And, I don't know who his promoter was or whatever, but he definitely was fighting nothing but garbage fighters, and when I saw that, I just wasn't really paying him no mind until he started to get, people started really talking about the dude. He started fighting some other guys like Ollie Haverson and some other guys that was at the heavyweight division that fought some other decent fighters at some point, just lost to them all, and Deontay Wilder was pretty much stopping all these guys. So, I made a YouTube channel like in 2013, came here, made a couple videos on Wilder early. People didn't like what I was saying, but, whatever. I thought the guy was cool. I liked him. I just was like, yo, You know, how are you 30-0 with 30 in knockouts and still fighting dudes that got, you know, nothing but losses on their records? You know, you're fighting straight bums. You're not even fighting guys that's like top contenders. You know, you're fighting just random dudes, you know? And that was what my problem with Deontay Wilder early. And a lot of people have that same problem even till today. Because people don't respect Wilder's resume. They don't. They don't respect Wilder's resume. It doesn't matter. And let me be clear. This has nothing. What I'm saying here is all about his resume. As far as how I think he is as a fighter, that's a different discussion. Because at heavyweight, I think he could possibly beat everyone. Okay? Regardless of him getting outboxed in a fight, the thing is, he's going to get that. He's going to land that right hand at one point. And when he does, it's over. You might get carried out on a stretcher at some point. You know? And a lot of fighters at the heavyweight, including Anthony Joshua, is not doing that. Joshua's stopping guys, but, you know, he's beating them up to a point where they got to stop the fight. Wilder is not doing that. Wilder is straight. Not every fight, because some of the guys, they got stopped. They stood up to him. And, you know, he had to keep punching on them until the ref jumped in between them. But for the most part, Wilder is a much more vicious puncher. And, you know, his power, you know, if you had to rate it from a scale of from 0 to 10, his power is like a 10. You know, out of all of the heavyweights. I believe that. All right? But as far as his resume is concerned, right? Before Stavern, you know, it was like there was no one there. I mean, he fought Malik Scott, which was at that time was supposed to be his first test. And at that point, he was already over 30 wins, 30 knockouts. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're already over 30 wins, 30 knockouts. And you're just now fighting a guy like a Malik Scott. Who I think took a dive, but that's my opinion. I can't prove that. You know, I can't prove that, you know. But look at Malik Scott right now. Has he done anything impressive since that fight? You know? I mean, he beat Tony Thompson, but still got dropped in that fight? You know, Malik Scott, he has a bad reputation. We saw what happened in Luis Ortiz's fight. We saw him not get up on a 10 count against Derek Chisora, you know? So, you beat him. You fight Stavern, who Stavern really wasn't a proven fighter at that point. You know, you get a WBC shot by beating a guy that you just beat. Why was he fighting Areola for the WBC title anyway? It didn't make no sense. Vitali retires. Why are these two guys fighting for the title when Stavern just finished beating him? It didn't make no sense. You know, that first fight wasn't close. Didn't Stavern break his nose in the first fight? You know, Stavern wasn't proven, but Deontay Wilder fought him, which is cool. You know, I mean, a lot of people were debating how that fight was going to go. You know, I picked Wilder to win. Wilder won. You know, I mean, I was happy he won. You know, I was happy that he won the title, you know, because that was his first real test. And, you know, he proved himself, you know. But if you really want to be technical, his first real test had never really been tested outside of Areola, who I will admit at that time, Areola, I'm not looking at Areola now because obviously Areola is washed up. But at that time, Areola was still a top 10 heavyweight, at least, at bare minimum. He was definitely one of the better American heavyweights at that time. You know, that guy Seth Mitchell I was talking about earlier, you know, Areola got him out of there easily, you know. But anyway, all right. So, moving forward, this is how I feel. You know, Wilder fought some guys. You know, he fought Carlos Molina. He defended his title a few guys. My personal most impressive win for Wilder was the Spilka fight. Even more so than the Stavern fight. I thought Arthur Spilka was a solid boxer. And I thought him changing camps and going over there with Ronnie Shields was great for him. All right. I thought he did very well boxing Deontay Wilder, using his movement and being, his angles and being very tricky in that fight. Um, I thought he was catching Wilder a lot. I thought he was up around when he got knocked out. I respect Spilka. I know Spilka lost to Brian Jennings, but as a boxer, as a skilled boxer, I rated him higher than Berman Stavern, because Stavern, I never really thought Stavern was really that good. You know what I'm saying? There was nothing he did that was impressive. He's extremely slow on his feet. He was stopped before. He was getting outboxed by another guy. I forgot his name. Oh, damn, I forgot his name. But anyway, I just thought Spilka was a better boxer between the two. That's just my opinion. All right? And I was impressed with Wilder's knockout. I was very impressed with that, because he was getting outboxed, in my opinion, but he would still find a way to, counter Spilka clean and knock him out to a point where the guy had to get carried out of the ring. It was a dramatic knockout, and I thought it was a great way to come to New York and bring some type of momentum to your name, here in America. Tyson Fury was there. He got in the ring. He already just beat Klitschko. Povetkin was out. He was in New York. Everything was just good. Everything was good. Now, what happened in 2016, it really wasn't Wilder's fault. It really wasn't Wilder's fault. It was Povetkin's fault. Povetkin got caught with the traces, meldonium, all of that started. Then he failed another test against Stavern. Wilder caught an injury, fought Chris Arreola. It was just, at that point, Arreola was way past his prime. Nobody really cared. All right. And, at this point, it's like, all right, what's next for Wilder? Povetkin by far was the best fighter he would have faced at that time. Povetkin and Spilka, who I thought previously was his best two fighters, they didn't have no type of resume to compare. Like, their resumes didn't compare to Povetkin. Povetkin at that time was like the top 3 rated heavyweight, at least a top 5, and he was considered to be the most dangerous heavyweight at that time. I mean, regardless of, we found out that it was most likely he was juicing, but regardless of all that, that was his reputation, and Wilder was going to fight that guy, and the fight never happened. Now, I know that's not Wilder's fault, right? But this is something Brian Jennings said in an interview I saw the other day, right? I don't know if it was Fight Hype or whatever. But Brian Jennings said something, and we know Brian Jennings and Deontay Wilder are not, they're kind of like rivals. They were talking a lot. They was going back and forth before when Jennings was on the come up, Jennings said something in the lines of, listen, we know you got these injuries. We know, the Povetkin, fight got canceled, whatever. He pulled out a Povetkin fight. But the thing is, you didn't do anything before that. You really didn't do anything before that. See, you went all these fights without fighting anyone, that as soon as something happens and you pull out of the fight, if you had been fighting top fighters before that, people would have understood, like, all right, you got an injury, you got to do what you got to do, you got to get better. But, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember exactly what he said. But I agree with what he's saying here. Because, right now, Wilder is 38 wins, 37 knockouts. 38 wins, 37 knockouts. And he still hasn't really fought anyone that's a dangerous fight for him. Like, he has not fought a fighter that people really consider to be one of the best in the heavyweight division. He has not done that. Povetkin would have been the only one. Oh, yeah, I like Spilka, but, most fans wouldn't even put him in their top 10. Stavern, without the belt that he had from Arreola, is not even mentioned at all amongst top heavyweights. He's not even mentioned at this point. And he was just about to get a rematch. I don't know why the WBC have him ranked. That's another issue. But, you know, and I'm saying all this because I'm gonna make a point about all this. There are people that criticize Wilder, and I can't get mad at them for doing it because it's like you have Luis Ortiz, right? I see Wilder all week been calling out Joshua, calling him out heavy. You want this fight? Of course, he just fought in front of 90,000 people. He made millions in one night. You know, he's making more money per fight than any other boxer right now, probably. That's actively boxing. Of course you calling him out. You want that bread. I get it. But this guy, this kid just beat Klitschko and he hasn't had 20 professional fights yet. You know? He's getting his knockouts too. He's 19-19. He fought Klitschko. He fought a couple fighters that Wilder fought. Wilder fought Jason Gavin, what, on his 32nd fight? When Anthony Joshua fought him on his, what, after his 10th fight? This is why people feel the way that they do. Wilder fought Carlos Molina. Oh, he beat and stopped Carlos Molina, but he also got wobbled in that fight. Joshua got in there and got him out of there, in 2 rounds? There was no fight. Look at what Joshua is doing against guys like Dominic Brazil, who proved himself that had a big win recently after losing to Wilder. Look at Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte is a guy that actually beat him in the amateurs. Okay? Dillian Whyte is doing better than what some of these other guys that Wilder has fought. Like guys like Spilka. Well, Dillian Whyte is up there with a Stavern and Arthur Spilka right now. Dillian Whyte is up there. You could argue that Dillian Whyte is better than both of those guys. You could make the argument. I'm not saying that it's fact. I'm just saying that if people were to debate on who do you think is better between Dillian Whyte and Berman Stavern, I'm sure there's a lot of people that's going to say Dillian Whyte is better. I'm sure. You know? And Dillian Whyte still hasn't really proven himself. You know, Joshua, at least he was taking steps. Kevin Johnson, all these fighters that he stepped up and fought, at least he was challenging himself. And he was passing it with A+ every single time. Now, both of these fighters, Joshua and Wilder, you know, like, both of these guys don't have the technique some of these older heavyweights did. You know, when you compare them to the heavyweights of the 90s, I don't think they're more talented than these guys. I think they're bigger, you know, but I don't think they have the talent that the greats from the 80s, you know, the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, the 60s. I don't think they have that raw talent as some of these fighters. And I was listening to Boxing Beats and Rhymes. He was saying this. He was like, yo, they need to start getting fighters to get groomed into boxing at a very young age. I think maybe it was him. I don't know if it was him. It was one of the YouTube uploaders. Maybe it was him. I'm not sure. But one of the uploaders on YouTube was saying that they need to get these guys in the gym early at a young age. You know, a lot of these fighters today, like Gerald Washington that Deontay Wilder just fought, you know, he fought Gerald Washington. I mean, Gerald Washington's a solid fighter, you know, and everything. He's solid, but he's really not that skilled either. He's new to it. Brian Jennings was new to it, you know. Brian Jennings. And, you know, let me tell you something about Brian Jennings, since I brought him up earlier. I don't know what he's doing now, you know. I know he's coming off 2 losses. He got knocked out by Luis Ortiz, all right? All right, I know. But Brian Jennings was another guy that wasn't boxing that long. He has no amateur background, all right? The dude just jumped right into professional, and he went on to stop Arthur Spilka, you know. He went on to beat Mike Perez. You know, I thought that fight could have gone either way, but the guy was on HBO. You know, he was getting big fights. He did get a fight with Klitschko. You know, at the time, Klitschko was stopping almost damn near everybody he was facing. Brian Jennings didn't almost win the fight, but you know, at least Brian Jensen gave him somewhat of a decent fight, you know. And then he went on to fight the man that nobody is giving him a chance, and the guy that is ranked high in multiple uh 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 sanctioning bodies, Luis Ortiz. He went on to fight him right after losing to Klitschko, and at least he got knocked out, but at least the dude went and fought him. My thing is, why isn't Wilder fighting this man right now? You know? I think Luis Ortiz is right there high in the WBC too. You know? Why did they put Severn in that first slot? Severn lost the fight to Wilder, beat Derek Rossi, and then gets the #1 spot again? That's those, I'm telling you, that's them sanctioning bodies protecting fighters. That's what they're doing. You know, because you got a guy like Pulev over here. He lost to Klitschko. Fought Derek Chisora. You know, he fought like 5 people since he lost to Klitschko already. He fought like 5 dudes. And now he's a mandatory for the IBF. But over here in the WBC, they just randomly make Severn. Like, yo, what are they doing? This is why people got problem with Wilder. Because he's not going through the top guys. He's going around them and then possibly getting a fight with Joshua. Now, the fight should happen because he holds a title. This guy holds a title. Joseph Parker holds a title. So whatever fights had happened between those 3, let it happen. Let it happen right now. But there are people who are saying like, nah, yo, why should Wilder get a shot where Joshua is going through the best guys to earn his spot, and Wilder is going around here fighting guys like Warzik. You know, I mean, Warzik failed the drug test, but why is he fighting that guy in the first place? You know? Why is he fighting guys like that in the first place? Like, when you that many, like, let's be real. Like, yo, the dude got over 30 knockouts and 30 wins. This dude had a 100% KO ratio in his 30s. And still fighting guys like Nikolai Further. Like, let's not act like that didn't happen. Let's not forget that didn't happen. I ain't trying to hate on the man, but yo, the dude went way too many, the dude went way too many fights without fighting no one. You know? And since he won the title, what has he really done? Because people don't really respect his wins. And I can't blame him. You know, Klitschko was out here fighting better fighters. Tyson Fury is out here fighting better fighters. Anthony Joshua was out here fighting better fighters. If you compare their resumes and who they fought in the past 5 years, all 3 of those guys got better guys on their resume. Povetkin, even though I think he was cheating, has a better resume. He was fighting better fighters at heavyweight in the last 5 years. All these guys, all these top-ranking heavyweights were fighting better fighters. Even Parker. Parker had like 5 fights last year. I'm sorry. Parker had like 5 fights last year. He fought, including Takam and Andy Ruiz. People were saying that Takam is better than anybody on Wilder's resume. I've seen people saying this in the comments and the videos. How did this guy come up out of nowhere already for Carlos Takam? Carlos Takam is better than Berman Stavern. He's better than him. He's better than him, and he's better than Arthur Spilka. I'm sorry. It is what it is. A lot of y'all gonna say that. Listen, and this whole, this is the thing. Like, I don't know if it's Wilder. I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it's Heyman. I don't know if it's promoter. I don't know who it is. You know, I don't know who is at fault with these fights that they're getting with him, or who's making the fights. I don't know who's at fault. All right, but what I'm saying is, damn, I just forgot my point. I don't know who's at fault, but he gotta fight somebody, man. You know, if he doesn't get this title fight and his next fight, if he doesn't fight with Joseph Parker, you know, if he doesn't get the fight with Parker or Joshua next, yo, fight Luis Ortiz, man. Because if you beat Luis Ortiz, because I feel like Luis Ortiz, and a lot of people feel like, yo, he's being ducked by everyone. People are trying not to fight him. They paying step-aside money. They're doing whatever they have to do to avoid this man. Yo, fight this dude. You know, fight this dude. And I think Wilder could beat him. I think Wilder might beat that guy. But people respect it if you beat him, you know? I know you're defending your title. I know it's not a unification match, but fight one guy that people really fear in the heavyweight division. Because with Joshua, before the Klitschko fight, nobody was really pressing that fight because nobody... at that point, he seemed invincible. He didn't seem really that vulnerable. Yeah, there are fans that thought he was red or whatever, or green. I'm sorry. People thought he was green, and people thought that he wasn't that talented, and he was just a big fighter. You know, and a lot of people say the same thing about Joshua that they say about Klitschko. I mean, about Wilder. But the thing is, at least with Joshua, he's fighting the names, though. You know, at least he's proven himself in a much shorter time period. You know, and half the amount of time. You know, Wilder is like, all right, well, you got to get one of those fights where people, you beat them and people are going to like really respect it. You know, we respect you beating Stavern. That was cool because at that time, you didn't fight no one as good as him yet. So we respected it. You won the WBC. All right, cool. You know, the Spilka fight was a good fight, but people weren't like trying to get that fight. You know, it was like a good fight because it was competitive. So people liked it because it was competitive. But leading up to the fight, people weren't asking for that fight. You know, you got to go through these dudes. Seriously. Like, if you're the best guy at heavyweight, prove it. Prove it. You don't have to wait until you fight a guy that holds the title to prove that. All right? Enough with these bullshit mandatories and these guys that, nah, they playing chess with that. We know because they do it. All these organizations, they do that. All of them do it. The WBO do it. The WBC do it. The IBF do it sometimes. The WBA do it. They all do it. They all bullshit around with the rankings. Let's be realistic here. Because we all say the same thing when it comes to a fighter we don't like. We all say it. They all playing around with the rankings. They're manipulating the rankings to save certain fighters. All right? They all doing it. I don't care what you guys say. It's true. It's happening over and over every single year. And it's happening with Wilder too. You know? Why is Stavern #1 at the WBC right now? Why? What did he do? The dude lost to Wilder in 2015. He lost to him in the beginning of 2015 and fought one time since then. What has he earned? What has he done to earn to be another mandatory? That's ridiculous. We know that's protection. We know that's protection. And this is like I was saying about Canelo and Oscar. I like Canelo. I think Canelo is good. But his handlers do things to protect him. It's not against Canelo. It's the people that's controlling and picking and choosing where he goes. I think Canelo is good, but his handlers are playing games and trying to make shortcuts. The Wilder thing, same thing. His handlers are playing around and taking shortcuts. Wilder ain't out here trying to fight everybody. If he was really out here trying to fight the best when they're at their dangerous, not when they look vulnerable like Joshua just now against Klitschko. No. Why are you not fighting Luis Ortiz? Luis Ortiz is right there. He's getting managed by the same guy you get managed out. Beat him up. We want to see that fight. I want you to knock Ortiz out because if you go and beat the best fighters, people are gonna have no choice but respect you. Now, some haters, the real haters, I'm not talking about haters that just want to be, you know, negative towards Deontay Wilder. I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about the people that really feel you haven't proven yourself. There's people that really feel that you haven't proven yourself and have good reason to believe that. People don't think you're that good. People think they see you in the ring, they're like, all right, he got power. What else you got? We can't say that anyone that says that about him is a hater. That's not true. People don't think he's that good. You know, and that goes into this legend. And Mike Tyson, I ain't gonna talk about the Mike Tyson interview because Mike Tyson don't really seem, he doesn't really seem like he followed boxing that much because he's saying crazy things. You know, he's saying about Klitschko, he never seen Klitschko get knocked out like that. Like when Klitschko did get knocked out like that. Okay, we already seen Klitschko get knocked out before, so I don't know why Tyson probably wasn't even following Klitschko fights at that time, or maybe he just don't remember. He doesn't know what's going on like the way the fans do. We sit here and watch all the fights on YouTube all day. We know what's going on. I don't think Mike Tyson really knows what's going on. Like I don't think he follows it like that because I personally think he's talking about Mike Perez. Why don't you fight a guy like Mike Perez? Why don't Joshua fight a guy like Mike Perez or something? Mike Perez hasn't fought in so long. You know, like, why are you bringing up Mike Perez? You know why he's bringing up Mike Perez? Because he's probably talking about Luis Ortiz. Because we're not going to act like a lot of times when Mike Perez was really active and Ortiz was coming up and King Khan was coming up and he was fighting on Fox Sports 1 with Golden Boy, I got him confused with him a few times because they're both heavyweights, Cuban fighters. We was getting them confused. I've gotten them confused before. I know other fans got them confused before. You know, who's that guy? Mike Perez. No, the other guy, Luis Ortiz. He probably did that. I don't know. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was serious. I don't know why he would be serious because Mike Perez is irrelevant right now. But we know Luis Ortiz isn't. So he's probably talking about Luis Ortiz. You know? So if Mike Tyson don't like Wilder, maybe there's a little jealousy there. Maybe there's a little hate. Maybe there is. But he's not the only one saying that. There's plenty of people that's saying the same damn thing. There's plenty of other legends, heavyweights, you know, that don't think Wilder is that skilled. And he's not. He's not. But he gets the job done. That's all that matters. So I respect him because he gets the job done. He's beating guys that has more skill and talent because he knows how to land that right hand. He'll connect. He'll find a way to get it in. He was losing to Washington, found a way to land that shot. You know, once he got that space in, he got that opening, he found the opening, he knocked him out. Same thing with Spilka. You know, he was losing a fight. I mean, in my opinion, you know, it could have been draw, could have had Wilder up around, whatever. But at that time, it was a close fight. And what did Wilder do? Knock this dude out, you know, in the 9th round or whatever. You know, it happens. So I respect him. Joshua, you know, Klitschko was outboxing him a little bit, quicker hands, quicker feet, you know, more experience. But Joshua got him out of there. You know, some of these guys are not that talented. Some of these guys are athletic. They played other sports first, then came to boxing. They came late. They're learning while they're on their professional career. So I get it. Ain't nobody hating on that. But what I'm saying is, like, you know, you fight a guy like Tyson Fury, a guy that know what the hell he's doing, you know, and knows how to use his tactics correctly, you have trouble with him. And I'm not saying that Wilder and Joshua can't beat him either. They probably could beat him. They might be able to beat him. I mean, I would hope. I like Wilder and Joshua better, so I would hope both of them beat, you know, Fury. But Fury is hard as hell. Fury right now, I mean, if he's at his best, I don't think anybody could beat him. You know? I wouldn't want him to win, but, you know, that's my opinion. You know, I think those guys, you know, I don't know if they're all as good as Fury. Fury got, you know, he's awkward. He's awkward, you know. And he's a tough fighter. He's tall. He's taller than all these guys. He's longer than all these guys. He has better feet than all these guys. And he knows how to use his length. A lot of these other guys are tall, don't know how to do that. They don't know how to do it. So, I mean, yo, this is my thing, yo, with Wilder. If he could get a unification match, you know, a lot of people say he doesn't deserve a match with Anthony Joshua. No, I'm not going to say that. All right? Not going to say that, all right? I know where it's coming from because you're looking at it like, nah, Joshua won't have to go through everybody to get his shot, you know? But Wilder fought some good fighters too. You can't say that. Wilder fought some good fighters. You know, I mean, if you take away the Klitschko win, You could say their resumes were pretty equal, except the fact that it took Wilder, twice as long to get there, you know? So I get it, I understand. Like, when where was who? Go look up who was Wilder fighting when he was 19-0. Who did he have when he was 19-0? But you can't base everything on that. You can't base it all on that because people's situations are different. Here in the United States, they don't really rock with boxing like that. They don't. But you know what? I will say this: if you earn your spot, people will respect it. People don't know who Wilder is because every time Wilder's fighting someone, he fighting someone that they never heard of before. They know people that watch boxing, even the casuals, even if they never seen him Wilder fighting for the first time. If you seen Wilder fight for the first time against Gerald Washington, are you really that impressed? If you're American boxing, or if you're American and you watching Deontay Wilder fight for the first time, and you see him fighting Gerald Washington, are you gonna think he's the next big thing in boxing? Hell no. Hell no. Come on, let's be real, man. We this is America. You know what fighters we had, and it's gonna be tough for these guys in the States because you know how many fighters we grew up watching. We thinking of Holyfield, Tyson, and Muhammad Ali, and all these big names. We ain't the George Foreman. We're not thinking about we see guy fighting Gerald Washington, and we like, yo, dudes watching this like, what the hell is this shit? People ain't gonna respect that. That's why you have no choice but to fight the best. He should be fighting Luis Ortiz. People are gonna respect it if he knocks him out. He ain't gonna respect you knocking out Gerald Washington. Who's Gerald Washington? Who's this dude? People might not respect Luis Ortiz, but at least the casuals, at least some of the people that have heard of Luis Ortiz, is going to respect that win more if he knocks Luis Ortiz out or beat him. But they ain't going to respect no Warzik, Gerald Washington. Gerald Washington was cool over the Warzik guy. I said that he should fight, Gerald Washington, a guy, that is American, and, give him his shot because the guy failed the drug test. But if this was a scheduled fight, come on, man. We want to watch Wilder fight Gerald Washington, man. Let's be real, man. Like, I've been tired of people not really, they not being real about it. Like, Wilder is doing the same thing a lot of other fighters are doing that we complain about. And this is why Joshua's get all the love, because his boy Eddie Hearn getting him all the good fights, and he's knocking all these dudes out, and people respect him. And the dude is humble dude. He's saying in the interview, like, listen, I know I got things to work on, but I'm trying. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying. The dude is saying that, yo, listen, I know I'm learning. I know I'm inexperienced. Every single person he fought was doing all the talking. Charles Martin, from here, from the States, he's not from here, but he's from the States. He was doing all that talking. Dillian White, he was doing all that talking. Brazil, grilling him, pushing up on him. Dude told him to fall back, doing all that talking. What happened? He got knocked out. This is why people respect Anthony Joshua. People ain't respecting Wilder because we seeing too many random. Who is he fighting? You never even heard of the dude until you find out Wilder's fighting him. Then you got to do research on every single one. People tired of that, man. People tired of that. You can't blame everything on Alexander Povetkin. You can't blame everything on that. Povetkin fucked up. Yes, he did. But Wilder has 38 other fights. He has 38 other fights. Can't blame that one fight on everything. Nah, man. I want to support my fighters. Listen, that's another thing with America, and it's different from these other countries. The thing with American people, right? You gotta understand. I'm from New York, right? We don't look at things like he's fighting for our country. Like, we don't do that. And I say we, I speak as New Yorkers. A lot of New Yorkers, Deontay Wilder is from Alabama. Okay, he talks differently than us. It's almost damn near foreign. New Yorkers, New Yorkers is yo. New York is a funny place for people that's not from here. If you from a different borough, and this is not even outside, because you have New York, you have New York City, and then you have different boroughs, and then you have different areas outside of the boroughs. You have the 5 boroughs. You got Manhattan, you got Brooklyn, you got Queens, you got Staten Island, you got the Bronx, whatever. Then you got Westchester. That's another place. Listen, there's fighters from different parts of the New York City area. You know what I'm saying? There's different teams in New York. There's different, whatever. You got the Knicks, you got the Nets, you got the Yankees, you got the Mets. Yankees fans hate Mets fans. Rangers fans hate Islander fans. The Giants fans hate the Jets fans. Yo, New York is so diversified. So when we look at a guy like that's from Alabama, I'm not really looking at him like, oh, he's fighting for us. Now when I see a guy like Danny Jacobs or a guy like Paulie Malignaggi, or a guy that's from Brooklyn, or whatever, from New York, I'm like, yo, I want him to win. He the New York team, because I identify with them. Know why? Because they speak like me, they dress like me, they know what I know because they're from the same places. It's hard to identify with a guy like Alabama that's from Alabama because they talk differently than me. They sound different. They dress different. They style, the type of cars they drive is different. Everything they do is different. It's not like in the UK. The UK talk, they talk differently. Obviously, they, I shouldn't even be talking about this because it's too long. But what I'm trying to say is, it's hard to just like someone just because they're from the country when they're so different. They're from our country, but they're so different. And Deontay Wilder, I like him. I like Wilder because I like him as, a fighter. I like him as a fighter, and I think he's a cool dude. But I remember when Brian Jennings was undefeated, and Brian Jennings was on the come up too, and people were talking about that fight. Because Brian Jennings is from here too. He's from the United States, but he's from Philly, and Philly is a couple hours away from me. So Philly is close to home. I go to Philly. I drive to Philly. I have family in Philly. I have friends in Philly. I'm familiar with Philly. Philly come to New York all the time to watch fights. The boxers, they come to New York to watch, to have their fights. So they're like family there to us. So Brian Jennings, I like Brian Jennings more. Maybe it's because, I don't know, like I feel like Brian Jennings is a little bit more familiar, and we have a little bit more in common than I have with Deontay Wilder. So I might like Brian Jennings. The way he carries himself, his whole way, like his whole style, his whole swag, it kind of remind me of New York a little bit. You got to understand that it's different. I like Joshua for different reasons because the dude is super, super humble. And they always trying to test him because he's from the UK. Like guys like Charles Martin. They go, oh, hold on. Yo, guys from here, they go out there just like Kell Brook. Kell Brook, he talk a little funny. He says, I got a brownie, punching brownie. What did he say to Kell Brook? Something stupid. It sounds corny, but I'm looking at the dude and I'm looking at his skill in the ring. I'm not really thinking about how he carries himself and stuff like that. That's why a lot of guys here from the States don't really like Joshua. You know why? Because Joshua, he talked different. I think a lot of people, I'm telling you, people won't admit that, but people like people that they identify with a little bit more sometimes. Some people like him, and some people like other people for other reasons. Like I don't identify with Joshua, I know he appears to be a black male, but he's different from us. He talks different, he dresses different. I don't know how much of it, but I respect his game because I respect what he's doing in the ring, But Wilder is from here, but he's just as foreign to me as Anthony Joshua. You get what I'm saying? Because he's from a different part of the map in this country. And he sounds and talks different. You know, he talks different, and he ain't represented like I think Joshua is. That's the God honest truth. For him to be an American fighter, he ain't representing like that. He took way too long. And that's why people weren't checking for him. Because nobody was checking for him. Nobody was making videos about him when he was 19-0. Nobody was talking about him back then. There's no footage or nothing about him when he was 19-0. So, you know I'm dragging this to another thing, but I think people just fail to realize that people should like who they like at the end of the day. You know, like I said, I like Brian Jennings a little bit better when they were both undefeated. Now, Brian Jennings, he lost or whatever, and I don't know when he's coming back to the ring. I still like him. I still like all these guys, but, I'm not going to just, I go with who I like, man. If I'm feeling this guy a little bit more, I'm feeling this guy, whatever. Sometimes I tell you, this is why I tell you, this is my pick, this is my prediction, but this is who I want to win. I do that. If you notice, if you watch my videos, you notice that I say that every video, all right? Canelo, I think he's going to dominate Chavez, but, I kind of like Chavez a little better, because of his father or whatever, Not anymore, but, that's how I feel, Like, a lot of people just need to admit to that. Like, yo, this guy's cool. I like him cool, you know what I'm saying? I like Kell Brook and Errol Spence. Well, that fight, I can't give that an example because I like both of them, They both cool to me, but they're both different to me. Like, Errol Spence, he's a Southern fighter, He's a Southern fighter. I'm from New York, And Kell Brook is from, he's an English fighter, He's from out there. He's different. These guys are different. Yeah, I don't really identify with neither one of them. I don't. So that fight, I'm kind of even. But I think Kell Brook is going to be able to outbox him. That's just my opinion. Who's winning or who's losing, I ain't going to feel salty about it. I ain't really rooting for no one. It just is what it is. Miguel Cotto's my favorite fighter. You know why I like Miguel Cotto? Because he always fights in New York. He had 10 fights in New York in a row or something. He's Puerto Rican. I'm from the Bronx. I lived in a Puerto Rican area. Puerto Ricans, New York Ricans, they are a certain way. And whenever Miguel Cotto was in town, it was a big thing. Why do you think he's my favorite fighter? Because in a way, I identify with this dude. This dude comes to New York and does his thing. He beat New York fighters. Just like Danny Garcia was doing a little bit. No, he come to New York, he beating guys like Zab Judah. Zab Judah is one of my favorite fighters ever. But, yo, Cotto came up here and what? Did he fight him in New York? I think he did. He washed Zab Judah. This is why I like Miguel Cotto. That's people from New York understand what I'm saying. Like Deontay Wilder is from the U.S., but he not from here, and he's just as foreign to me as a guy that's from the U.K. across the water. So I'm not with the whole, you got to represent, you got to back the guy. No, I don't really have to, I don't feel that way about it. I stand by whoever I like. If I like this dude, I feel like he represents. For the UK, Joshua is representing for the UK. For the US, Wilder's, he's doing all right. I ain't no haters. He's doing all right, I wish he did a little more, That's how I feel. And that's why the country feel that way. That's how the country feel. You know what? Because we supported Floyd Mayweather. We supported a lot of other fighters that's from the country. We supported a lot of other fighters that's from here, from American soil. And Wilder's not getting that same love. You know why? Because people not feeling him like that. And that's the truth. They not. I ask people about Wilder and they don't know who he is. Maybe some people don't really know about him. But I'm sure some people have seen him. I'm telling you, some people seen him. And they don't really care. They don't think he's really that big of a deal. You know why? Because he has a lot of, like, yo, you it's hard to impress when it comes to heavyweights, man. You came up from that Mike Tyson time, Holyfield. You know, it's hard to impress when it comes to heavyweights. You know, and I feel like since the Clissos is on their way out, a lot of people don't think the heavyweight divisions dudes is that talented, man. They don't really think they are. You know? I don't know, man. I spoke way too long, but anyway, hope y'all enjoyed the video. You know, I make these old videos anyways, like podcasty-ish videos. So let me know what y'all think. All right, peace.